you're going to see what's called Other Library. I click on that at the very bottom. Hopefully everybody can see that down there. It's not cut off. You can then choose an InDesign file and pull in the colors from it. So I'll then choose, let's say, Intro H, open it up. And what's really cool is if it decides to do it here, we might get a crash. Hopefully not. Maybe I missed it. Let me grab it again. Other library. I'll do this one instead. I think it's already got it in there, but there we go. Okay. If you pick a document, you're going to see right here, it's going to list all the colors in the document. What you can do then is you can go in and kind of be picky here and pick which ones you want and add those. Now I'm going to grab the ones up top here, like the RGBs. I'll grab some of those, click Add. It'll automatically add it to the list over here. I can click Done, and I pulled in whatever swatches I want, not all of them. I don't have to pull them all in, which is really great. All right. Okay, so here's something else with color that's kind of interesting. I'm going to try and hit a lot of little things in here that you may find useful, I'm hoping. Have you ever wanted to find where a color was used in a document? Let's say you've got I don't know, I go to my swatches panel, I look over here and I'm like, okay, there is something called local red. I want to know where that's used in my document. Well, I kind of see it's probably right here, but anyway, a way to find where formatting is used in your document is to use the Find Change. If I come under Edit and go to Find Change in InDesign, how many of you have used this before? This thing is phenomenal. It got blown out in the last several versions of InDesign. They've added so much to this. One thing I love is if you go to Object, you can find object formatting, like let's say a fill color on something, and change it to something else, or just find it. Say, hey, where is this being used? Now, there's 50 ways to do this, and I know there is always 50 ways to do everything, but in some cases this can work pretty well. If I click on Specify Attributes here, and I go over and say, all right, the fill, I want to find out what object is filled with local red. There's all sorts of stuff you can find here. You can even find effects, which is really great. I'll then click Find, and what it's going to do is start going through the document and selecting everything that's using that color. You can tell it to search all open documents, which is pretty amazing, or the single document that's showing in the document window. You can search every frame, text frames, graphic frame, unassigned. You can search everything. I'll go to all frames, click Find, and it will start marching through and saying, oh, here it's used, here it's used. Now, unfortunately, this is not going to show you text that's using this color. It's only objects, so the frame itself. If you wanted to find it in text, you could just go to the text button here, text section, come down to Find Format, click on the button here, and go to Fill Color or Character Color, whatever they call it here, Character Color. I can then go to Local Red, click OK, find that formatting. I don't care what you're looking for, just find anything that uses that color. And if I click Find, it's going to find the text that uses that color. So this can be a really great way to be able to locate not just colors, but all kinds of formatting that you've got on objects and on text. This is also leading me to something called grep. I don't know how many of you have used this before or wanted to use it, but in Find Change, this is a little bit geeky, and some of you got to look at this and roll your eyes and be like, why would I ever do that? But trust me, every once in a while you're going to have to pull this thing out. But let me click Done here and hide the swatches panel. Here's a nice little tip. I think I've shown this in the past, but if you want to hide your panels over here, let's say you want to quickly hide these, well, a lot of us know that if you hit the Tab key, you hide everything except the document window. Tab key shows it. Shift Tab will actually hide just the panels on the right. I do this all the time. Hit Shift Tab or press Shift Tab, hide those, maximize your window if you're on Mac usually. And then what you can do is if you need the panels, you don't have to hit any more keyboard shortcuts. Just move your cursor over there and they'll show up. Move your cursor away and they'll hide again. So it's your call. You can work however you want, obviously. But let me move up a little bit here. I'll zoom out and move up. And let's say we want to do this. Let's say I want to search for something like this. I want to search for page number with a P and then a number like this. Okay, so I want to search for all of these because I want to change the formatting of them. Now, if they're on one page, it's pretty easy. I don't really need to search. But let's suppose that all through my document, I've got the same kind of thing going on. Well, if I go to Edit, Find Change, now if I go to text here, a lot of us have used this before. If I type in like P48, it's going to find P48, but nothing else, right? Well, that's where grep steps in. Grep is really cool because it's literally saying, let's use these wildcards. Let's say, hey, it could just be P and then 2 numbers, but it's always got that like formatting. I want to actually find that kind of thing. So I want to find like a P with any 2 numbers after it. That's where grep steps in. So with grep, what you can do is you don't have to memorize all this stuff. It's just using this thing. You can click on this little thing over here, and it says, okay, well, what do you want to search for? You'll see right here that we've got things like, I don't know, markers, end of paragraph, current page numbers, white spaces, just about anything you want here. I can also say wildcards, any digit, any number. So what I can do is this. We can go into find what, and I know it always starts with a P. So I'll type in a P, find what, and then any 2 numbers. If I come to this little wildcard thing here, right on the side, you'll see any digit. So this little thing represents, this little \D represents any digit. So I know that it's going to be a P with any 2 digits. So what I can do is type in another \D and find that. Let me zoom out here. So if I click find, it'll find every occurrence of that thing. And what's cool about that is I could go in and say, okay, let's grab all those and change the formatting. So let's add a character style. Let's change the color. Let's change the font size, do things like that. But you can see the wildcard says it doesn't have to be a specific text value. It could be anything. It could be any 2 numbers that you've got out there. That's really pretty cool. Anyway, I'm not going to go any further because find change is, like I said, pretty geeky. And we've got a lot of other stuff we can do here, we can cover. But let me back out here. There's a lot of shortcuts we can use, a lot of things that I've used in the past, grids, styles, things like that. I want to show you a couple different things with working with styles, paragraph styles in particular, that I think are really useful. Let me go down here. I'll scroll down a bit, and I'm going to grab a paragraph style. Let's find some actual text here that I can use. Sorry. All right, let's just go here. Okay. Now let's suppose that I've got this paragraph right here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to turn on all my hidden characters so I can see this stuff. You can see that I've got a paragraph right here. So much for plan B. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to apply a heading to that and then a body style and a bunch of other things here. Well, when working with styles, let me show my panels again just so you can see that. Whoops, let me undo that. Show my panels again. When you're working with styles, I don't know how many of you use paragraph styles, but they're really useful. Paragraph styles, character styles, object styles. There are pretty quick ways to work with these things that I love using. If you go and select some text or put your cursor in the text and you want to be able to apply a style to it, let's say I want to apply, I don't know, first paragraph no indent or first paragraph drop cap or something like that, caption, I don't know, something like that. Well, we can use a couple different ways. One way is to use what's called quick apply. Quick apply, if you master this, you will master InDesign. Okay, not really. You'll get much faster. You will be so much faster in InDesign if you use this all the time. I cannot tell you how much this has set up my workflow just from working with this. But working with styles, if you want to apply them, you can do this for just about everything. But if you click on Quick Apply in one of the styles panels, or you'll see it right up here, Quick Apply. Notice the shortcut there, Command Return. You have to put that to memory because you're not going to click this button. Quick Apply is a dialog box that opens up, and it lets you type in the name of a style. Like let's say I type in PUL for pull quote. It siphons or searches through the list, sorts it, shows pull quote. What I can then do is as soon as I see the one I want, I can hit enter or return, and it applies it. I know that looks dumb, okay, but so how can I make that faster? Going to a paragraph style, I just click pull quote, it's done, right? Well, to make it faster, using this shortcut, like I said, hover over this, you'll see Command Return. If I select some text, I select this text again, or put my cursor in it, hit Command Return or Control Return on Windows, Quick Apply opens up. It then says, oh, okay, well, here's the last style you used. You can then apply it quickly if you want. I want to apply first paragraph, no indent. So I can start typing, scroll down here, and you're going to see it's going to let me apply it. So I'll hit Return or Enter, and I've got it applied. Let's say I put my cursor in another paragraph, Command Return. You can see I can use my arrow key to kind of scroll down there and just keep applying this. This quick apply can make your life a lot easier if you name your style simply. These are pretty rough, you guys. I got 15 with first in the first part of the name. So, but if you name your style simply and you start using this, you can really get this to work pretty effectively. There's some great things you can do here. They work faster, basically. Now, there's a bunch of other things we can do with this. I can use next style, all sorts of different things, and I want to hit that real quick. Let's suppose that I have a subhead style here. If I double-click on this paragraph style, subhead, open it up, how many of you ever worked with next style? This next style thing is pretty cool sometimes. It means that, let's suppose you're typing text and you apply the subhead style to it, like I see so much for Plan B here. If you hit return, you can make it switch styles. By default, it's going to go to the same styling. It's going to keep the subhead styling. But if I want to, I can say, let's go to first paragraph, no indent. If I do that in next style and click OK, if I come here to so much for Plan B and like I'm finishing typing here and I hit return and I start typing, you'll see that it automatically switched to first paragraph, no indent. That's called next style. Now what's really cool about this is you can apply this to a bunch of things. Like let's suppose that I have this. I'm going in and I'm going to apply all this again, just make it pretty simple, okay? Kind of back it up where it was. And I'll put this one like that. If you go and select two paragraphs, now I said you need to apply this next style for when you type text, okay? If you go to this one right here and I select it and I go click on subhead to apply it or use my quick apply, it's not going to apply next style. It's when you're typing. But here's something else you can do. There's a faster way sometimes. If you select both paragraphs, even parts of them, if you go to subhead here, if you right click on this thing, you're going to see apply subhead then next style. So you can force it to do it. It's going to apply the subhead and the next style after it to the two paragraphs you have selected. So that's, like I said, I use that once in a while. It does help. But the quick apply thing can be really, really useful, make your life a lot easier. All right. Okay, let's do a couple things here. I've got a bunch of other things that I want to show you guys. I just got to kind of pick and choose here. Here's something that I love. When I type a lot in InDesign. I misspell a lot of stuff. I don't know how many of you use spell check. So you're going through and you're going to spelling and you've got dynamic spelling and you've got autocorrect. If you turn these two things on while you're working in a document, you can make it so that dynamic spelling is going to do like what Word does. It puts a little squiggle under the line there and says, hey, this might be spelled wrong, or it's not in my dictionary. I don't understand that. Autocorrect means, pardon me, sorry, I'm going to blow your ears out. Autocorrect means if you type in, I don't know, the word fish and you spell it F-S-I-H or something like that, you're having an off day, it can automatically correct it to the right spelling. Now, this is what I want to show you. The problem, well, the thing about autocorrect is that it doesn't know this stuff automatically. You have to train it. And by training it, I mean you have to type it in. So if you turn on with the document open, dynamic spelling and autocorrect, if you then go to the preferences, I know some of you are going to roll your eyes at this and be like, I'll never do that, but this is actually really cool. If you go to the autocorrect preferences under the InDesign menu, or on Windows it's under the edit menu, you'll see that you can go in, and this is kind of embarrassing. I misspelled the all the time. I don't know why. Anyway, somebody told me it was a sign of mental instability, but there you go. So what you can do with autocorrect is you can enable it, which is cool. This will be blank for yours in your InDesign. You can go to add, and like I said, you got to kind of do this bit by bit. Suppose you misspell the word fish, okay, F-I-H-S. You can go in and say, you know what, if I type in this thing, and this is driving me nuts, I keep typing this in. If I type that in, I want you to automatically correct it to fish. So you go in and say, all right, add to my list. There we go, cool. If I go in and click OK, I get out to my text and I start typing. I'm like, F-I-H-S space. You're going to see it automatically corrects it for me. So that's autocorrect. Like I said, it's a little bit of a process and it's built up over time. That list is in InDesign forever, no matter what document you have open. So over time, you can kind of add things that you always misspell, or, you know, we all have those words, like restaurant or, you know, whatever. But here's a great thing you can do with this. Suppose that you are, I don't know, we've got Meridian's Urban Museum right there. Suppose you got to type that in a bunch of times, and you really do not want to type that in a bunch of times. Here's what you can do. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go up to that preference again, autocorrect. You got to turn this on when you have the document open. I'll go to add, and I'm going to go to correction here, just paste in what I wanted to type. You can use this as shorthand. So if you type in, let's say it's a misspelled word, you can type in like I don't know, MUS or something like that, or M1, or some short thing that you probably will never type in your life other than for this method or this. It means that if I type in M1 and hit space, it's going to put this in its place. It's shorthand. So I click OK, click OK. I'm going to start. Let me do this. Let me kind of back up here. I'll get rid of that. So I'll go of M1 space, bam, there we go. So it's doing autocorrect. It's basically going in and using shorthand to make it easier for me to do this. You won't use it all the time, but there are a lot of cool things you can do with that to be able to make your life a little bit easier. So, all right. Here's a couple other little things that I tend to use a lot of. Find a color, we already saw that. Link shortcuts, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking at a little bit of list here just to make sure that I've got everything covered that I want to do. Let me go back up. I want to create a brand new document. I want to show you this real quick. This is something that we can use once in a while. If I create a new document and I say, let's start with 4 pages. Okay, they're facing pages. That's great. Click OK. I'll zoom out here. I get this question I get all the time. People are like, well, I want to be able to print this on my office printer or something like that, and I want 4 and 1 to be next to each other. I want to have 4 pages as spreads. There's a couple ways we can do this, but I want to show you one method for doing this. If you are concerned about automatic numbering or pages on numbers on the pages rather, you can still use this method. It just requires a few extra steps. I want to put page 4 next to page 1, but by default, if I drag page 4 up here and stick it right there, you can see dragging it up. All it does is shuffle all the pages down, right? Well, if you do this, go to the Pages panel, come to the Pages panel menu out here in the corner. If you turn off Allow Document Pages to Shuffle, this is InDesign's power. This is making it so that only 2 pages can go next to each other in a spread kind of thing. Turn it off. Take page 4. Now, you got to be careful with this. You want to make sure you stick it, and don't do this. Don't put the line right there. It'll just shuffle, try to shuffle. Stick it to the left there, and you'll see an arrow pointing left. If I let go here, you're going to see it's going to let me do it. So it's InDesign's power. You've just taken it away, essentially. Now, if you want to add more pages to this, this is where it gets, there's a couple extra steps here. To add more pages, you'll see that if I start adding pages, it's going to start letting me do this, but it's also going to let me, if you accidentally do it, put more pages in a row here in the spread. So what you can do first is this. Turn the power back on. So move the page up, go back to the Pages panel menu, turn that back on, allow document pages to shuffle. It's going to say, hey, do you want to keep what you got here? Click yes. What it does is it locks the pages together. Now, it's going to do some weird things here, but that's because it's basically odd on the right and even on the left, right? Correct? So you can see right here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, this right here should be page 1. So to fix this, what I can do is come up here, click on the page, right-click, set up a number, right? Change that to 1. So start it at 1. Click OK. Shut up. That's for printing purposes. You'll pay attention to that sometimes, yes, you will. And you're going to see that it's going to go through and let me do this now. So it's 1 and 1. I can then change 2, 3, 4, etc. This should be switching back to the other side. This is an even numbered page. Anyway, that should do it, you guys. And if I change, let me just fix it here. I'll finish it up. I'll go to this one, change this one to 4, let's say. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. It's confused. Anyway, so 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. So that'll allow me to go in, and if I start adding more pages, it's going to strict adherence to the rule of left, right, and you will see that you do have to keep track of this, though. The last page number is something you're going to have to keep track of. But anyway, that's a way to put 2 pages next to each other as you work. All right, let me close that up. Let me show you a couple other things here as far as working with content that I think is just awesome. I've shown this a couple different times. We can work with what are called libraries. Libraries are something that I use all the time. If you go to File, New, Library, this will create what's called a library file. This is an LIB file, essentially. If I create New Library, it's going to ask me to put this thing somewhere. And I was wrong, sorry. It's an INDL file. I'm thinking wrong application. You can create this little INDL file, stick it somewhere. It could be on a server, it could be on your hard drive, whatever. I'll save it. And what it does is it opens it as a panel. It drives me nuts that it puts it in the sample buttons thing here, but anyway. This panel, it's really kind of odd, but it almost works like a book if you've ever used a book in InDesign. It's open as long as you want it to be open. You can open and close it by going out to your desktop. If you can see, it's kind of peeking right here. and opening this little file. You just double click to open it, and it opens it as a panel. The reason why I use a library is because you can take content you're working on. Let's suppose that I'm doing, let me scroll up a little bit here. I'll go all the way to the top, sorry. And let's suppose that I've got this masthead right here that I want to be able to use a lot of different times. Well, you can click on a bunch of things. It could be a single object, a bunch of objects. You can drag them into the library, let go, and it basically saves it in there. So this is saving a copy of that content. It's almost like a forever copy. If I then go to another document, let's say I open up another document, library, as long as the library is open, you can drag that content out and put it on the page, and you've got that content. Library can contain all kinds of things. You do have to be careful with images. If you have let's say an InDesign file, and I've got a big image back here, you can see the image right there. If it's linked somewhere, linked to a folder and not embedded, if I drag this in here, let's say I drag it into my library panel, you're like, awesome, it's in there. I go to another file, I drag it out, there it is. It's going to try and link to the original location that you had that original image. So you have to be careful with that. Now you can embed it if you want to, but it's your call anyway. Library, really, really pretty cool. I use the library actually for working with different things for my digital publishing system to make iPad apps and things like that, or if you're trying to make an EPUB or different things. The great thing about the library is the fact that you can go out to the library panel menu, and you can go out and do things like place the items. You can update library items. There's all sorts of really great things you can do out here. Anyway, library is awesome. So keep it open. You can work with that all the time. Come on. Last couple little teeny things here. Guide shortcuts. No, I think we're good. I got a list that's like a mile long here I could show you guys, but we do have to stop. Last thing real quick, if you want to, you can use, let's suppose you're working with text. Let me go to some text out here. And the text is not fitting. How many of you have ever seen a text frame and you see the little red plus and you're like, well, I wonder how much text is left over? I do this all the time. Sometimes what I will do, tell me if you do this too, I'll try and open the box to see how much is there. Or if it's not big enough, I'll click on the plus and just click somewhere else and see how much text is left over. All right, well, here's another way you can do that. If you know you might have a lot of text left over, if you click on the text frame or put your cursor in it there, if you go to the story editor, Command Y is the shortcut there. Story editor actually shows you the overset text. So you can see exactly how much is there. This is the coolest thing ever. I use this for tables too. You can see overset text in tables. You'll see right there, overset. And then without opening the design, doing anything out there in your design, you can go in here and say, oh, let's change this text, let's do this, let's try and change this up, and it's going to start working its magic out there. You can see it happening. Anyway, just something simple that you can use to maybe make your life a little bit easier as far as that little red plus. So, all right. Well, we're out of time here. I want to take a few questions if you have them. Hopefully you got a few things from either InDesign and or Illustrator here. So we do have the question pod over on the right there if you want to ask questions. And it looks like, can't wait to say more, great. Let me go over and get to the Q&A. Let's see if we have anything here. Okay, here we go. Thomas, autocorrect causes dyslexia and destroys a person's ability to type accurately. Is there really no way to completely empty the autocorrect data? Does unchecking autocorrect disable it? Yes, Thomas, the autocorrect data is completely empty by default. It requires that you type something in. To be honest, I tend to use it more for shorthand than anything else. But yeah, it's empty. It's not turned on by default, and it is completely empty. So you are the one that has to start that up. Holly, how do you copy the same effect from one object to another? For example, you add a drop shadow of the text. How do you add that same effect to text later on? Holly, are you referring to InDesign or are you referring to Illustrator? If you are referring to InDesign, I can show you that right here real quick. In the effects panel, okay, let's suppose I do a drop shadow on something. I'll just do a drop shadow. There's a couple ways you can do this. If I have a drop shadow on this box right here, this frame, and let me do this. Let me go out and draw another one and fill it with something. I'll fill it with a color just so you can see it. That way we have there paper. Okay. if you do this. If you click on something that has an effect applied, you're going to see this little effects button here in the effects panel. You can take that bad boy and drop it on another object. Or if you want to, if you don't want to do that manually, you can click on the object that has the effect. You can go to Object Styles and create a new object style. I do this all the time. This one's a good one. Because that way, if you go and create another object, let's say I create another box here real quick, and you see the object style here, it's almost like a paragraph style. You click on it, and there's no color in here, sorry. There we go. It'll automatically apply that same formatting. So either object styles or dragging from the effects panel, those are two ways out of many, I'm sure. So, Sylvia, how do you use layout adjustment with grouped objects? Yeah, good luck. I'm right there with you. Layout adjustment, actually that was something on my list to show, layout adjustment. I don't know how many of you have ever used layout adjustment before. It's a great feature, it really is. If you go to layout adjustment, it allows you to enable this, and you've got to enable it. It's not on by default, but if you enable this, if you go to the document setup and you change, let's say, the size of the document, something like that, or change the page size, it tries to move things to match, to kind of fit within. Yeah, if you look right here, you're going to see that there's only certain things that it can do. The group stuff, it's going to say allow graphics and groups to resize. It tries its best as long as this is selected in the enable layout adjustment here. But yeah, it's not perfect. So, but you got to make sure this is selected to get it to get that to at least try. So, all right, Matthew, is there a way to convert all RGB images to a CMYK profile from within InDesign? RGB images. Interesting. Not that I'm aware of. I know colors, sure, we can do all that pretty easily. But as far as images are concerned, we have the pre-flight capability, pre-flight menu, which allows us to select and see what images are RGB as far as pre-flighting. We can do it if we PDF the file. We can do it if we print it. But yeah, if we go into the color settings up here, you'll see that we can say that if there's a profile mismatch, if we want to, we can convert the images to a working space. That's something you could do. So any images that you bring in, and the only key there, Matthew, is if you go to Edit Color Settings, you want to make sure that you turn on Ask When Opening, Ask When Pasting. This opens up a can of worms, but what that does is if you place an image that's not matching, and let's say it's a different working space or something like that, you could go in and say, let's convert it using a different profile. But as far as RGB to CMYK, not that I'm aware of. So, sorry. I could be wrong, of course. Thomas, can I empty the autocorrect data after it has stuff? Yes. So if you want to, if you go to InDesign Preferences, Autocorrect, move this out of the way, sorry. You'll see that you can go in and just shift-click, select all this stuff in here, and just click Remove. You can also reset the preferences for InDesign if you throw away the InDesign Preferences file, and that'll wipe that out too. So yeah, if you don't want to use it, disable it, get rid of that stuff, and be on your way. You're good. So that's awesome. All right, we have any other questions you can think of? If not, I think we're good.
Okay, just a couple items before we close out. Right now we have a great Adobe promotion going on. If you go to www.macmall.com, you can see that if you purchase the Creative Suite 5.5 full license or upgrade, you will receive an upgrade to CS6 with no additional cost. So that's a really great promotion to get 6. Obviously, everything that Brian showed today will be included in that. Also, just a reminder that this webinar was recorded and we'll be sending out the recording next week. You can also find it on our website at www.macmall.com. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. Brian, thanks so much for a great presentation. A lot of very interesting tips and tricks for people. And this ends the event. So everyone have a great rest of your day.